No electricity, no problem. Guess what? Today we're going to be cooking with petrol or gas, as they say in America. Yes, absolutely, and it's absolutely safe too. Okay, here before you, you've got two examples of some awesome stoves which I personally have owned for years, and I've done an experiment earlier, and guess what? I calculated that the petrol inside this stove here is 6 years old. Yes, sir, 6 years old, and we're going to see how she gets on. This one was practically empty. I've emptied it and I'll put some fresh new petrol in here. Okay, so this side you're looking at the peak one. This is the 422. No, sorry, the 442. Okay, just like in football. And this one is the 533. Yeah, I always get them mixed up. So this one's slightly larger than this one. They're both highly desirable. Okay, they've been around for ages. They come from America, okay, made by a company called Coleman. Absolutely bomb-proof. I prefer old, good quality, well-made kit and equipment. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring you in and we're going to show you some of the main features, and we're going to get these lit up and show you them in use. All right. To start off with, we're going to go over the 533 model very quickly. Okay. At the moment, this is currently full up with petrol and it's been pressurized. So what we do, just pretend that this is empty, is this here obviously is where you put your petrol in. All right, so under no circumstances, right, try to undo this once this is full up with pressure. If you really have to undo it, you need to be seriously careful and undo it very slowly. You need to listen to the vapor escaping. All right, and trust me, do it very slowly, but only in an emergency if you really had to. Okay, so the fuel goes in. Incidentally, the fuel, you can get one of these. All right, it's a purpose made little funnel which you can get for it. As you can see, that little rubber hose inside there, basically all you do is you put this in that way. All right, so you want to make sure that this cut off here is level, it's horizontal. Okay, don't put it like this. All right, it needs to be up this way. Okay, so this is undone, this goes all the way in there. Okay, and you very slowly start filling it up with your petrol. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to do it slowly, and when it's full up to the top of that little rubber plastic hose thing there, okay, stop, don't put any more in. Okay, and it will slowly go down. If it doesn't go down and it's at that level, what you need to do is you need to seriously, really slowly withdraw from this. Okay, so you're taking it out very slowly like this. Okay, don't do it quick because it'll come out and it could go everywhere. Right, so do it very slowly. If you're worried you're doing this for the first time, do it in the sink or something like that, somewhere where it's going to be safe and you're not going to get fumes everywhere. Even better, do it outside. The last thing you want is loads of petrol vapor in your home. In fact, you could probably adopt exactly the same principle as what I talked about in previous videos on the series about paraffin. Okay, always fill it up and light it outside. You can pretty much do the same with this, but fill it up outside. Okay, let the fumes and the vapor and that disperse outside in the open air, then bring it in, then you can light it indoors. But you do have to use extreme caution with these. Remember, it's petrol, it's pressurized, and you've got a flame, and it's in your home. So there we have it. The fuel's in there, it's tightened up. There's a rubber O seal around there, okay, to make sure that it's really tight. You don't want anything escaping from there. Moving around on this side, you've got this, the pump. Okay, if you can probably tell on that, there's a tiny little hole in the middle of that. All right, right there. Now what happens is when you go to put pressure in here, you just literally pull it out like this, and when you put in pressure in there, you put your thumb or your finger, okay, over that hole. Okay, so what you're doing is you're pushing pressure into this device, and here is a non-return valve. Okay, so imagine that you're pushing it in this way, the valve gets open, lets it in, and when you withdraw it again and when you close it up, it's going to close off. All right, so you can push that in there. okay, with like this, no problem at all. This is actually pressurized, okay, so if I try to do that now, I'll put my thumb on there and I'll push. I can't really get much more in there because it's absolutely full up. Once you've pressurized it and pumped it after you put the fuel in there, okay, if you use that funnel like I said earlier, there'll be enough space in the top for your pressure to go into. All right, you don't want to overfill these. There needs to be room in there for pressure. Okay, so once that's done, okay, you've pumped it up so you literally can't push any further. All right, if you are struggling, say about an inch or so from the end, you just, as you push it in, you take your thumb away and it will just go a little bit, and you close it, and then once it's done, you lock it off. Okay, so basically what you do is you turn it clockwise. Okay, clockwise, so it won't turn anymore. To open it, anti-clockwise, like this. Okay, so that's it. That's sealed and it's closed. It's full of pressure. That's pretty much a bomb right now. Okay, so you do need to be very, very careful. Right, so that's pressurized. It's ready to go. Now what we need to do is we need to light it. Right, what you see there, that little red lever, that's the control lever. All the time that you see that practically touching this metal guard, right, that means it's in its off position. Fully open is the exact opposite, so this red lever will be over here, so it's going to go around and up. Okay, the more that you turn it, the more it opens, the more pressure comes out. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this a tiny little bit, okay, and you're going to hear it probably. All right, so we're going to turn it. You hear that? There it is, nice and simple. Now, I used this a while ago. Okay, so what happens is this generator, which is this pipe going across the top, that will heat up and that will vaporize the fuel. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that this is quite low. You haven't got to go crazy, and we just let that work through the system. Sometimes this can take up to a minute or two. All right, so for this demonstration, to save time, I've already used this about an hour or so ago, so it's gone through the system, etc. If you take this out and you haven't used it for a long time, what you're probably going to see is lots of yellow flames. Now don't panic, okay, but what you do need to do, as soon as you light it like I've just done, try and keep your flame low. Okay, let it warm up that pipe. Like I say, that pipe's a generator. Okay, that needs to be warm or hot, so when the fuel goes through there, it vaporizes it and it burns nice and blue. Like I said, in this particular stove right now, the fuel is 6 years old. I know, I couldn't believe it. I didn't have it in me to just pour it all away, and I wanted to see if it actually worked. And when I fired it up about an hour or two ago maybe, I couldn't believe it. They absolutely bomb-proof. Okay, now granted, it's probably not as powerful as it should be, and it's a little bit more flames, yellow, but for me, that's absolutely astonishing. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to give it some time, and what's going to happen is those yellow flames will slowly disappear and you will see more blue than you would yellow. Okay, so it's already starting to do this. All right, what I might do is I'll turn the light off so you can see a bit better. So there we have it. It doesn't really take that long, and you can just slowly open her up to full pout. Now, like I say, I think the reason why it's not performing as it should is because the fuel is very, very, very old. Okay, 6 years. So a lot of people say you shouldn't store petrol for more than 6 months. I have used a fuel before called Aspen 4, a very expensive clear liquid which you can use in these. It's okay, but you do have to be careful when you store it, because that is seriously volatile. Okay, it's pretty much pure petrol. It's insane. So that pretty much is it for there. All right, with this stove, so you can turn it down. It's all about adjusting it. Okay, like I say, I think the issue with this is it's old fuel. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So absolutely, yes, you can cook on petrol. Yes, it's really old fuel, but at a pinch it will absolutely work. Okay, maybe not as efficient and not as clean, but it will still work. So that is what you can do if you come across some very old petrol. It will absolutely work. Now we're going to move on to the other stove when you're going to see the difference. I wanted to show you the differences in old fuel and new fuel. Okay, so we're going to turn this off now. All right, and you can see that there, it's gradually dying down. So it will go out. So now we're moving along to its little brother, the peak one, the 442. This happens to be the feather model. Very desirable because they have the metal feet rather than the plastic ones. The plastic ones, try and avoid them because they do break, especially when they're really cold. All right, so it's exactly the same principle as the other stove we just saw. It's just a smaller version. All right, so bearing in mind that this has got some brand new clean fuel and I fired up earlier, so it's all good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do exactly the same as what we've done with the other one. So make sure you check it all, that is nice and tight. Okay, again, it's got a rubber O-seal to seal the pressure in there. The valve is on. You can't put any more pressure in there. You lock that off clockwise. Okay, you turn it around, check your light is working, and you turn it on slowly. And you have to listen for it to start. When you start to hear it bubble, hiss, that sort of sound, that's when you need to light it as soon as you can. But don't turn and leave it all the way around, just a little bit, and keep it there. There you go. So that's a very low. You can make it a bit lower if you want to. That's about right, I think. So what we're doing now is we're going to let that stabilise, okay? Now, please don't worry about the yellow flames on the top, right? That's only when it's starting up. Like the process, what I explained earlier, is this tube that runs along the top is the generator, all right? You need to heat that generator up so it will start vaporising. Now, you're going to see this in real time. I'm not going to edit it, so I'm sorry if it's a bit boring and it takes a bit of time, but I want you to see exactly how it is, okay? So you can start to hear it now. There is some, most of it's gone blue now and clear, which is exactly what we want. Right. So as that's pumping through, it's all looking good, it's nice and clean. There's no block jets. Incidentally, if you do notice any block jets in there where you're missing some flame from certain points, turn off, you must let it cool down and use a tiny little brush and just stab at it and blow it. Then try it again and eventually it will clear. It doesn't take much. Sometimes it's a bit of soot or something like that, just blocking that jet. Once you've got all of the jets fully operational, you're absolutely good to go. Now as I turn it up, you can hear the pressure getting louder and louder and louder. That's at full power now, so I'm going to turn the light off because I want you to see. So there we have it, as promised. I did cheat a little bit. I cut about a minute of the video out because I just felt it was pointless at the end of the day to see all of that. But it literally took about 60 seconds and now it's absolutely burning nice, blue and clean, alright? And you can tell it's absolutely whacking out the pressure now. Now we've got it fully open. Okay, so that is at its maximum. So if you're looking at boiling water for a cup of tea or something like that, you're looking at under 4 minutes, maybe less. Okay, if you're doing it indoors without wind, absolutely the optimum. I just wanted to show you the difference between old fuel and new fuel, okay? The old fuel is not going to be as efficient, okay? And it's going to be a bit yellow and a bit smoky. This is nice and clean and blue, and it's very powerful, as you can probably tell. So we're going to turn that off, just like that. Now, once again, safety. Everything on the top of there is red hot, as you can appreciate. You do have to be very careful what touches this. All right, so make sure that you keep it out of the way, nothing can touch it, so you don't want any fires. All right, you can't do anything to that unless you can touch the top and it's stone cold. So this is my little system, right? This is a padded case made by a company called Nash. Some of you guys who are keen fishermen know all about Nash, okay? They make pretty good products, and this is exactly the right size for that 533 burner which we showed first, okay? So what I wanted to do is to show you what I carry inside this, and everywhere that stove goes, all this stuff goes with it, right? So what we're going to do is we just unzipped it, put that to one side, and I'm going to lay all of these out on the table and talk about the reasons why. So this is all of the kit which I carry in this tiny little bag inside the pouch. Start from this side, okay? We've got what's called fire paste. Now this was recommended to me by a good friend of mine who is in the US Marines and done Arctic training. What they was finding is when they was using these types of stoves, they just couldn't get them to light. This fire paste is an absolute game changer. Okay, when the temperatures are seriously cold, you just squirt some of that out the tube and you rub it along the generator, which is this piece here, right? That's the piece which heats up and allows the fuel to vaporize, okay? So you put some of this all the way over there, okay? And once it gets lit, it warms up and it keeps that going like an absolute charm. Made by a company called Coghlan's in America or Canada, I believe, okay? There's a lifetime supply in there, and to my knowledge it doesn't really go off. Here inside you probably can't see it, but that is silicone grease, okay? Like I say, anything that's got rubber on it, try not to use natural oils, okay? It will perish over time. So there's a good bit of silicone grease in there. You only need a tiny bit, okay? Speaking of grease, we've got one of these cup washers there, all right? So that is going to go in conjunction with the pump. So all of these are brand new and they're spares, and they get checked over now and again. Like I say, you've got a rubber cup washer on the top there. That's where you're going to be using your silicone grease, okay? Very cool. Coleman's have decided to do a maintenance kit. So you've got some spares in there, and I've taken this out just to show you what it's actually like, all right? I've actually tried cleaning one of these because over time, if you're using bad fuel, they will gunk up, okay? And it's not good. So after this video, all of that old fuel is going to get dumped out. I'm going to give it a bit of a clean with some IPA, give it a wash out, tip it out, let it drain and dry naturally. Then hopefully, if I haven't screwed it up, you know, the generator's there for an extreme backup. We've got the pump, like I said. And also, if you remember me telling you about the jets, when the jets get all gunked up and sometimes they're not like coming through, a little brush like this, you can just give it a little stab all the way around and brush off any soot, that sort of thing, just to keep it maintained. If I do have to strip it apart completely, I've found the correct size watchmaker posi screwdriver, and on the end I've put a small piece of blue tack on there because I don't want it puncturing anything. And there's 3 screws which you can hold that together with. I put 4 in there, okay? So you always want to put extra in case you drop one or lose one, all right? You'll be glad you did if that happens. And the correct size spanner. Now this is 7/16 for you old school guys and American guys. Perfect fit for there. One little thing that I need to share with you, okay? When I put this together years ago, we're talking around 10 years now, okay? I decided to put one of these tiny little Bic lighters in there. Brand new, never used it, put it in there. Went to go and light it, and it just will not light at all. It's got a silly little safety thing on there, so you push that down and it just will not light at all. So what I'm saying to you guys, if any of you guys have used these little Bic lighters in any of your kit, I advise that you go as soon as you can and check them to see if they work, all right? So Bic, I'm sorry, but for long-term storage, it's a big fat 0, not on my watch. And if you like Bic and you love them, fine. If you want to take the chance, then you go for it. Personally, I do not recommend these little Bic lighters. Personally, I'm a big fan of clipper lighters. Try and get the see-through ones because you can see how much fuel's in there, and they always work. They're fantastic, okay? I've got spare flints and loads of things to go with these. I'm good for years, Always make sure that you've got stuff that works. So that is a brief rundown of the kit that I carry to maintain that 533 stove. So there we have it, 2 seriously good petrol gas stoves. Okay, thoroughly recommend them. Like I say, I've been using them for years. I've never had a problem. And the story I always say about this one, I've done an overnight camp with like 4 friends. There's 5 of us, and I left this out overnight and it rained. It wasn't forecast, but it rained. So when I woke up in the morning, that was just a puddle of water. And do you know what happened? I just literally picked it up, shook it off, put it back down, turned it open, lit it, and it fired up. Worked like a charm. These things, the 533, are serious good bits of kit. Okay, and this one, if you're on the move, can't recommend these highly enough. The 442 it's a peak one, both made by Coleman. So I haven't looked recently to see if they're available or the prices. I wouldn't have a clue, but use your own due diligence. Okay, search for them, try and find them at the cheapest prices you possibly can. Even if it's from another country, if it still works out cheaper to ship it over, absolutely go for it. Okay, you won't be disappointed because you're always going to find petrol. Okay, no matter where, no matter when, you'll always find it somewhere. Okay, and you can always use these stoves. There is a Coleman stove, sorry, a Coleman fuel, which they recommend you use. It's a lot cleaner than petrol. By all means, go for that. Aspen 4, ASPEN 4, comes in a blue bottle. That's really good as well. Okay, so options are always good. So in this series, we've already covered paraffin, methylated spirits, petrol. The next one is going to be gas. All right, so we're literally going to be cooking on gas. So I hope you're enjoying the series so far. If you're liking the content, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps because it makes sure that you don't miss any future videos which I upload. Okay, but always make sure you have to tick that notification bell. Make sure that it's set to ringing. Okay, otherwise you're going to miss them. And we're trying to help as many people as we can on this channel. Okay, because lots of people are waking up to discover it's going to be seriously hard this winter, 2022 going into 2023. Okay, so if you can eat and keep warm throughout this winter, you're doing something right. And I hope all of this information helps. Okay, so feel free to leave any comments below. I do what I can to answer them. The channel's growing now. We've just gone over 70,000 subscribers, and yes, there will be a giveaway contest coming up. There'll be a video coming out for that real soon. So I hope you're enjoying the content so far. Thanks for watching. Stay funky.